Welcome to Between the Reads, where Black books are shared and celebrated all year long. I'm your host, Audra Russell. There are so many great things going on this year as I continue to amplify Black stories, but I can't do it without your support. Please consider heading over to patreon.com/betweenthereads and becoming a member, or make a one-time donation at www.ko-fi.com/betweenthereadspodcast. Are you ready, boos and bros? Then sit back, relax, and let's get to it. Lenny Williams was born and raised in Wilmington, Delaware, and still resides there today. In 2014, he started working on his first project, setting up a plan to become an author and a director. In 2015, he released his very first book titled Dreaming Their Way Out, a children's book about 7 orphans finding a way to escape an orphanage and head to a magical island where they can enjoy their childhood. That same year, he directed and released his very first film titled What is Life?, a documentary about young college students figuring out who they are and where they fit in life. Today, Lenny is the author of several books. He is known for creating epic fantasy children's books and novels that people all over the world can relate to. In the future, Lenny eventually plans to create animation, comedy, and horror films, video games, and a theme park for millions to enjoy. Lenny, welcome to Between the Reads.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you so much.
Listen, all that stuff, all I'm saying is, when the theme park opens, I want free tickets.
I know that's right. And you got it.
Free tickets, y'all heard it, and I have it on video. I get free tickets when the theme park opens. Matter of fact, better than that, I want a season pass.
I know that's right. And listen, I got you. All right. You're a day one.
All right. Yeah, there you go. All right. So let's get right to this book, Asha, the Princess of Matana. Tell our readers what it's about.
Asha, the Princess of Matana, is essentially a story about a young man from New York City and a princess from a country that I made up back in 2015 when I was working on it called Matana. And him and his best friend named Tamir, they went a trip to Matana. And while they're in Matana, they discover this magical kingdom. And when they discover it, that's when they realize they see a princess. And within that story, they discover that, she has powers. She discovers she has powers. And that actually her and Jamal were destined to meet to help fight these enemies of her ancestors' past. So it's a beautiful fairy tale. I was definitely inspired by fairy tales of the past to influence my thinking when it came to this story.
Okay. Yeah, because, it was kind of interesting the way that they were, they won this trip to Matana, but something happened when they were taking photographs, which they were entering into the contest. Something very interesting that I'm not going to tell people, but when you read the book, you will find out. It's a very interesting little twist that kind of foreshadows what's going to happen. So, Matana is this magical kingdom with buggies, animals who innately know who does and doesn't belong there in Matana. You have the underwater Matana town, and you have these things called nozzles that they put over their faces to help them breathe underwater. Tell us how you created all the intricacies of the world of Matana.
Yes. So when, it's funny, when I started writing this, I was in college still. So at the time, it was my junior year of college. I realized that I didn't want to do criminal justice anymore, but I had to finish and get my degree anyway because it was too late,
Right.
What I have, I call it weird. Sometimes people call it special. What I do is I usually like to take walks out at night in the neighborhood and look at the stars, look at the moon. That's how I get my ideas because I don't like to have anything kind of influence me as far as other people's work. So I act like I put myself in a position to create things. So you're going to be the first person to get the full entire scope of how Asha was actually created. All right.
Okay.
So I went on a date one time with this Ghanaian girl. She's a Ghanaian American, and she's beautiful. I was like, that's all I could think about how beautiful she was. And, long story short, as everything happens, sometimes sometimes people just aren't into you like you think they are. Then they're like, oh, dang, she ain't like me. It's okay. I took an L. It's all good. We had one date. We didn't have a second date. But I was like, I like, oh,
Her
she's
loss.
beautiful.
Her
Yeah.
loss.
I was like, oh, she's beautiful or whatever. And then pretty much real life experiences helped me create the stories
Uh-huh.
as well as the night sky walks and everything like that. So I was like, okay, well, what if somebody like myself one day just like ran into a beautiful African princess, you know, and
Right.
it was like a Disney movie, and that'd be cool. And then the sky part, like I love the sky. So I'm like, yeah. So what would happen? Like, let's say you're into photography. So at the time, I was doing photography. And I love doing it. And I was like, okay, well, let's say your character is into photography and he goes to school for that. And him and his friend are always taking pictures. Me and my friend, like one of my friends, he would model, and I would take pictures of nature, and then he would also need me to take pictures of him to submit his model and stuff. But for me, I would use that story. In my story, I was like, you know what? Let's say him and a best friend model. All right. And then he meets this African princess. I've never been to Africa, but let me assume this is what it's like. And I would look at a lot of stuff from National Geographic about Egypt and stuff, and then let it place in my imagination of how would they act over there. You know, even though I don't know what's going on, let me see how it acts. So I'll put Egypt, my life experience, the night sky, and just come up with all this stuff. So if I'm gonna go underwater, what would I breathe with? I don't know. Let me just call these things nozzles to help me breathe. The things that they fly on. I know in Egypt they have like in ancient Egypt they would have hieroglyphics of these beetle-looking things. So when I said they're gonna fly around on these buggies, I said let me make them look like beetles, but I'm gonna call them buggies. And, so it was a lot of detail being brought up, and so the things that I'm breaking down to you are like that's the note taking that took place of life experience, my dreams, and me just coming up with certain things, and it took like 2 years to break down that whole story in detail.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, I thought when you said the night sky, you started talking like, okay, that's what he, had his character do.
Yep.
All right. So tell us about the spirit energy and how it keeps the kingdom running.
Yeah. So the spirit energy is pretty much like that is the kingdom, as far as like it breathes life into the kingdom. It gives awareness to the animals of knowing who belongs there and who doesn't belong there, because the spirit energy is a connection to the ancestors, and it's a connection to the mother goddess Asha. So like Asha helped her ancestor helped start that kingdom, and that's from her energy. And so her energy replenishes that entire kingdom. And Asha's parents know this, and our family knows this, as far as like we can't let anything disrupt this.
Right.
And this is before I knew anything about the Black Panther and the vibranium thing. Things just happen like that where people we have like a similar idea, or things just happen. So you can think of it like vibranium almost, Right. But for me, it was just that spirit energy plays a big part in the Matana, and helps replenish that entire kingdom. It keeps the kingdom alive. The kingdom is alive because of spirit energy. Right. So that's what. So people read the book, they definitely see that. Yeah. Yeah,
because it runs everything, the electricity, everything that runs off the spirit energy. I love that. Yeah, everything. Now, did anyone ever tell you that the story gives like a little teeny bit of like Coming to America vibes, but with females instead of yeah? Okay. All right. Now, if you can't tell, that was a little tiny segue into something that happened with this book. You worked at a movie theater from 2015 to 2016, making minimum wage, and then you used those funds to write and publish Asha. Then what happened?
So after I used those funds to write and publish Asha, I decided to pitch my story. And being when you're young and, you can say naive as well and don't really know about the industry, like I told you, all I knew at the time was criminal justice, because that's what my major was in. But I knew I had a passion for writing. And I was like, okay, I have to I'm publishing a book, this children's book, Dreaming Their Way Out, but this is something that's going to be massive. This is like a detailed, fairy tale chapter book that I want to make into a movie. That's what I knew. And so to me, I was like, okay, I got to share this with a bunch of people, because maybe that's how everything gets done. Maybe that's how pitching works. So my experience was, okay, let me email a bunch of black-owned studios. That's what I was thinking first. I'm like, let's think black-owned first, because that's what I should do. It's a black story. So, and I said, and also I got to do due diligence to the motherland. So, because the story takes place in the continent of Africa, let me email African-owned animation studios. So I'm flooding African animated studios with my story and the whole premise of it. And I'm just like letting them know, like, I have a story called Asha. I definitely would like to work with you guys to see if one day we can make a movie and do things like that. And I'm also DMing people, directors, producers. It was so many DMs and emails at the time that there were so many responses I didn't get back. My young self got depressed and just deleted like not all of them, but most of them.
Oh,
yeah, I know, and it hurts me to this day. And it's like, it's probably about 10 emails that I still have as far as like emails that I didn't get a response to, and I definitely send those to you as well. But I remember emailing USC's animation department, so many other ones, like other black colleges too, animation, but no responses. And I was like, okay, maybe my story sucks. Maybe I'm not a great writer. So this is what's happening in my mind, that I'm not a good writer, that I'm terrible because nobody's responding to me.
The standard stuff that happens to writers when they're pitching. Yeah.
Exactly. So that was going on for such a long time that I was like, maybe I have nothing here. But I still went ahead and published this story. And me and my illustrator, she got the images done. And I would promote it on Instagram, and I would submit things to Disney's website. Because the first time I sent something to Disney was this script called Paradise. And Paradise was like Dreaming Their Way Out and everything. And Disney had sent back a letter saying, hey, we can't accept your script because we're not allowed to take outside sources, other than if you're an employee. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe I should apply to be a writer there. So I went on their website, I applied to be a writer, didn't hear anything back. I'm like, okay. But me being young and naive, I still wasn't trying to give up, and I was trying to be persistent, like in their face. So Disney on their website, especially at the time, where you could submit questions or had any concerns or anything, you could submit things into their website. So, when you type in something on somebody's website, hit send, it goes into their system, but you no longer see a message. So I sent a premise of Asha and everything, and what my website was, her picture and everything. And I let them know, like, hey, I have a beautiful story. I have to work with you guys. I did send an application in. I didn't get a response, but I'm trying. Please, guys, just hear me out. Please hear me out. So I'm being persistent because I'm listening to people like Steve Harvey and Gary Vee about how you have to be persistent and you have to keep going. So this is the energy that I'm having.
Right.
And then lo and behold, I still don't hear anything. So I'm like, oh, dang. I guess it's not going to happen. So fast forward to 2018, after the book has already been out for a year. Asha was heavily promoted on different Instagram accounts, like We Buy Black promoted it, another page called United Black Success. So a lot of these black promotion pages promoted Asha, where it was getting about 30,000 likes, thousands of shares. And so it was getting a lot of attention, but not a lot of, buys. So people seeing the concept, they seen people were talking about how good it was and stuff like that, but it wasn't like, okay, you heard about it that day, and then that was it, pretty much. And so 2018, every time I hear about like somebody or Disney doing something, somebody tags me to it.
Okay.
So that's how I find out. So in 2018, Disney released a source saying that they were coming out with a movie called Princess Sade. And somebody said, hey, Lenny, this premise sounds just like yours. Where a young princess discovers her powers due to a prince helping her discover the powers, and it helps connect with her ancestors and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, I remember submitting things like this to Disney last year. And a lot of my cousins and stuff jumped on board and was emailing a message in the Shade Room about like, hey, because the Shade Room posted it about Princess Sade. And they were telling the Shade Room, like, hey, this is plagiarized, blah, blah, blah. And the Shade Room, like, one of the Shade Room comments replied to my cousin and said, okay, thank you. And they just didn't say anything else. And for me, I was just like, I'm trying to reach out to them, but they didn't reach out back to me. And so this director, I think his name was Rick Bumia. I think that's his name. I messaged him on Instagram, but he never replied. I just said, hey, where did you get the concept for Princess Sade? And I never got anything. And now we fast forward to what happened now with the movie Wish and the movie Iwaju. Now with Iwaju, it's so sad because I really do want to celebrate the success and how everything came about with Iwaju, because that's a Nigerian-based company. We came out around the same time as far as our creation. Now, I will say this though, I was the first person out of us two to have the look of a princess like this, with the with the emerald on the head and just the white dress and everything. And about a year later, they started having their princesses look like that too. But I didn't pay any mind with that, because I'm like, they good, like that whole nothing popped off yet. They were still working, I was still working, and I was appreciating what was going on. Then all of a sudden they got a deal with Disney in 2020, and somebody tagged me to that, but I didn't make a hoopla about it. They were saying, well, they have a movie coming out called Iwaju, or a series coming out called Iwaju, but Lenny, the character, the young man on their story, he's wearing like a fanny pack on one side of the city, and the girl, the princess, is on the other side of the city, but they're both taller than the buildings in their city on their cover. And they also are flying in a gold machine that looks like your buggy, Lenny. And I was just like, I didn't make a hoopla about it, because I was trying to deny it so much. Like, it's no way that they took it. It's no way.
That's because you don't want to believe that people are going to steal your idea. Yeah,
and at the times, and I'm like, especially my people, they wouldn't do that to me. That's how I'm thinking.
Right. Nope.
And I know, right? And it was that unfortunate case where it's like, you know what, they did grab your concept, and this is something that you have to accept and something that you have to talk about, because I don't want this to happen to other people. That's why I'm speaking out about it, because if the next young man and the next young woman that creates independently create a great story and somebody takes from it, I don't want them falling into the same trap. So I would tell people, like, to not even go about emailing a whole bunch of studios, independent studios and stuff like that. Like, now, thanks to the conversations throughout the past couple of years and the conversations with my lawyers, now I know what to do for 2023 and so forth. But 2017, that Lenny didn't understand, but it's a learning experience.
Right.
And same with the movie Wish, though. We're going to break down Wish. Wish is, when it came to what they did as far as swindling me, it was a masterpiece. It was genius how they did it. So they, instead of naming the movie Asha, they named it Wish. In their story, Asha looks up at the night sky, and she's friends with a star that helps her, like, with, I guess, wishes and powers and stuff like that. They changed a lot of the concept, but the look of Asha is there. And at first, Disney released her being Princess Asha, but due to a lot of people coming at them on TikTok and Twitter and Facebook as far as comments, just bashing them, all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, she's no longer a princess. She's just Asha." And the movie's called Wish and everything. So, like, my lawyers was like, due to their $1 billion company and due to it being a concept of your story, there is no way to sue them. But you would just lose because they could fight you. And for me, a first court case for me will cost $100,000 for my lawyers up front. Money that I don't have.
Right.
And then for Disney, $100,000, like a penny.
That's nothing. That's nothing. And they would keep you just tied up in court and then bankrupt you.
Yes. Yeah, so I was like, okay. And what I had to learn was, because the story isn't like a New York best time seller, because I only have about 2,000 followers on Instagram, it's easy to take from the little man. It's easy to take from the little woman when you have a great story, but you don't have a company behind you, or you don't have millions of copies sold. Now, let's say Asha was published by Simon & Schuster and it was a New York best time seller. That's when Disney would be like, hey, we want to do a deal with you where we make this into a movie, because they have to go through Simon & Schuster, who is also a beast, just like they're a beast when it comes to the traditional publishing route. They won't mess with a big publisher like Simon and Schuster or Touchstone or Macmillan or HarperCollins. But if you're by yourself as an independent publisher releasing it by yourself, they're gonna mess with you. And unfortunately, this has happened to so many other artists. And so I definitely speak out for them as far as being their backbone since the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s. Independent artists' work have always been stolen, and it's just it's an unfortunate thing where it's like, how do we even tame this beast? And it's one of those things where like you literally got to go through a big machine to help you.
Now, you said that Asha is copyrighted.
Yes, it is.
Now,
yes.
Did you do that yourself, or did you have lawyers do all the paperwork for you?
Oh no, I went through us.gov and all that stuff, and then you just get a copyright where you pay for it. Yeah,
so you did it on your own instead of hiring.
On my own. Yeah, exactly, that way.
But
that
didn't protect your story at all, being copyrighted?
Only so my lawyer said it only protects it in a way if they plagiarize it. So here's how. What happens is this. Let's say I can't do anything now, but let's say once the story is released, I have to let the story release first. Once their movies are released, they release their scripts. Now, within a script, we have to see if there are lines and character dialogues that are taken word for word due to the root of plagiarism. That's how you define, that's how you figure out if it's plagiarized. If character dialogue and certain lines and certain scenes are actually plagiarized within that segment. But due to a concept, fighting somebody in court when it comes to a copywritten work, they can just say, "Hey, we were inspired by the concept. That's it." But there's no way to fight that. And also, the only way like I would be able to truly fight it is like if a character was trademarked, which costs a lot of money. You have to that means trademarking a whole look. So saying the person can't wear a camera with a blue hoodie, and they can't have gold on their dreadlocks. So that trademarking so many things, like how they trademark Buzz Lightyear and Woody. One person with my income can't do that.
Right.
So it's just, so that's the tough thing. So my lawyers, they broke down the entertainment game to me, and they were like, hey, the only way you can sue them is if it's word for word plagiarism within certain lines of their script, and Disney doesn't usually release their scripts till after their films are released. And
so you basically have to wait until the film is released to prove that they stole your idea, and hope that they left some plagiarized lines in there so you have some footing to stand on.
Yep.
And yet they still gonna make all the money.
Yeah, so
and at best they might break you off something in a settlement, which isn't going to be anything near what they're making on the movie. Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, I want to share my screen, and we're going to look at the photos that you posted on your Instagram page of this whole debacle that went on. And as we go to each page, I want you to, through each photo, I want you to explain what each photo is, whether it's yours, whether it's theirs, all of that, so people can get an idea of what's going on. All right, so here we go. Let's see. And it's the first time I'm doing this. So here we go. And share. And I'm going to make this large so that we can see it. All right. So explain to me what this first, and for people that are listening to the podcast, I suggest you go over to my YouTube channel and look at the show, because we're going to go through all these photos. So what is this first photo here?
This first photo was a commission piece done for me by an artist named Isabel Staub. And that's the one thing too. A lot of illustrators that I work with are pretty popular. So when they post Asha, gets a lot of views. So Isabel Staub is a popular illustrator on Instagram. She created a look of Asha right here that I paid for. And it's Asha holding fire, and you see the gold necklace she's wearing and everything like that. That was a promotion piece for my book. That helped me a lot. And so that's what you see there. And then you see my sister posting about how my work is copywritten, and how, it's pretty much impossible to, sue Disney. But we're letting you guys know, like, this is his princess first.
Okay. All right. Now, this next photo.
Yes. So this was on the Nigerian Herald website.
Okay.
Once Princess Sade was announced in 2018, the Nigerian Herald took my picture that Isabel Staub created and put it on their website and promoted my Asha as Sade, as Princess Sade. And and it was very disrespectful.
That's pretty brazen.
Yeah, they didn't care. It's like I noticed that when the whole thing popped off this year, as far as like when I was typing in Princess Sade, I was like, wow, they really did that. So yeah, they literally they were like, hey, this is Princess Sade. And what hurts about that is you're giving companies even more of a concept of, oh, this is what my princess is going to look like, as far as their princess. And they don't even know where the image come from, not like people on the outside. But the Herald does, the Nigerian Herald. So that was really disrespectful. I emailed them and they didn't respond back or anything. Try to flag their page, but thankfully they barely get views on their website anyway. So I was just like, yeah, that was just that had pissed me off.
Okay, I bet that would piss me off too. All right, so now let's see. So we have the princess that was, and this one here. Explain this. It's kind of the same photo, but explain the text that you talked about.
So Isabel Staub, the illustrator I mentioned, she was very excited about promoting this. So when she posted the picture that she illustrated for me, she said, super fun project I worked on for Lenny's imagination. Princess Asha character art for his book promotion. I'll be opening commissions again very soon for the holiday season. Keep an eye out for the announcement. So that's pretty much one of the last pieces she did right before the holiday season of 2017. And as you can see, that had about 25,000 likes. And so many people were like, oh, here's another fact too. When illustrators would post things like this to help me promote my work, people that love the story or people that love the concept would tag Disney to on the comment section saying, hey, Disney, you guys should make his story into a movie. You guys should talk to him all the time without me even saying anything. So,
wow,
they of course they seen what was going on, but they just kept ignoring me.
All right. And now explain this next picture.
This was from a Disney Tumblr website. I don't know who runs the Disney Tumblr website at all, but they were making suggestions of what actress should play Princess Sade for the upcoming Princess Sade movie. And it was my character again, Asha, but they had the actress Nafisa Williams right next to Asha, and they were like, she would make a great Princess Sade. And I'm just like, that's Princess Asha right there.
Right.
not Princess Sade. And there we go with the disrespect again of like not acknowledging my work, the hard work that I put in working at the movie theater to pay for these commissions, to pay for the illustration. And you take somebody's hard work and you just use it as your own to promote a $1 billion company's work. Like that wasn't cool.
Right. Yep. All right. And this next picture.
Yes, Iwaju, and I believe that's how you pronounce it. But it was done by Kugali Media, who I still have love for, because people that's black in the industry and they get a chance to work with mainstream people in the mainstream media to help promote our image. I think it's a beautiful thing, and I think that's a beautiful company. I love what they do. I do wish that they would have worked with me or whatever, like in the past. But we see how things play out. But Iwaju, I do have to admit, sadly, I have to admit that they did get the concept of what they put out there. They didn't release the storyline yet, purposely. They probably working on the storyline right now. But they released the image back in 2020, then they released it again back in 2022 of a young man wearing a fanny pack and the princess across from this river in this futuristic utopia looking place. And you see a gold
little
machine.
Gold buggy.
Yeah, yep. And you see, I think, other gold machines way in the back flying behind them. That may be what that is. But you could definitely sense Matana when you look at the Iwaju story.
Absolutely.
And,
Absolutely.
it's one of those things where it's like, deep down, for the ancestors, I wish them the best, but it also makes me sad at the same time too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Now this next one.
Yes. Now, that is the original Buggy. That is the
So
that
this
the
is your artwork.
that's my
This,
artwork. Yes.
yes. Okay.
Yes, that is the original Buggy with Jamal and Asha sitting inside the buggy driving it, where he had to blend in with the citizens of Matana, and she was showing him Matana Town and things like that, and they just had a beautiful experience underwater. And that's so what you see right there is the illustration that I had to pay for using that movie theater money, that movie theater budget money. So yeah,
Yep.
that's the original Buggy right there.
Okay. And explain
That
this one.
that is the statue of the goddess Asha, who created Matana. Above her hand is the spirit energy that stabilizes the kingdom of Matana and keeps it running and replenishing and keeps everything in Matana alive. So right there is their big center. That's their big centerpiece. That. That is the most sacred statue in Matana. So right there, that's what you see. Which
And
is
this was
an
also
illustration.
something you paid for as well.
Yes, the illustration I paid for. Yes, yep. So that beautiful sculpture right there is the goddess Asha.
Okay. And then this was also from another scene in the book. Go ahead and explain what this picture is.
Oh yeah, so that's the water being released through this underwater cave that Jamal, Halima, Asha, and Tamir are in, and Asha and Halima are showing Jamal and Tamir this beautiful underwater cave that you see the eyes are lit up. I know her whale Solomon shows up in this scene. And he's taking them to the cave and everything, and they're seeing all of the beauty and wonder within the cave and the magical discovery of what Matana is. So like on a surface land, it never stopped there. It was like underwater, it's more magical secrets. It's more of it's a town like we mentioned, the Matana town. It just it's so much that goes into it. So like yeah, that's a illustration I paid for as well.
Okay. And this last one.
And that last one was the very first image that I paid for. Caitlin Edwards or Caitlin June, she goes by Caitlin June. She's the one who created all these images, and she did an amazing job. So that was my first idea of what I wanted Jamal and Asha to look like, and what the city was going to be like. And yeah, so that's the very first concept that I paid for of Jamal and Asha, with the city behind them, and also you see as it fades to my left. There, it fades into Matana.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. All right. So, let me see. Where does my thing is going? I'm trying to come back to. All right. End the show. Here we go. All right. So, you mentioned that this would take a lot of money to even try and fight this, and you obviously have to wait for the movie to be released. But have you thought about starting a crowdfunding campaign to get the funds together so that when the movie is released, you can take action? Or are you just kind of wait until the movie is out and see what happens?
Yeah, so that's exactly what I was doing. I was waiting until the movie came out so I could watch it and observe it, and also read that script thoroughly too. So I'm not only when I watch what they release, I'm gonna listen to every line thoroughly, and I'm also gonna read that script thoroughly, and then that way I have concrete evidence that I could use to promote to the people, and not showing them that I'm ripping them off, because being like, hey guys, I need this money for no, I want to actually show concrete evidence, letting them know what was taken word for word, what concept was taken, and everything like that. And if they're willing to help me, could they please help me? And then I'll do a crowdfunding that way. But so I need that evidence first.
Okay. So has Disney responded at all to your accusations?
No, not at all. Not at all. So I do know there was a friend of mine who was trying to get in touch with somebody they knew who worked at Disney just to have a conversation to see what went down. But the person didn't want to have a conversation, and I wasn't angry or anything. I was like, we can have a civil conversation. I just want to explain my part on what I know happened, but there was no conversation to be had, and the good thing about all this is that it has gravitated the right attention
Mm-hmm.
for future work in past 2022. So like for
Okay.
future work throughout the years to come, it
Mm-hmm.
has gravitated something that's beautiful. Something beautiful is going to happen that I can't even explain yet. But
Yeah, keep it under wraps. You
yeah,
don't want
yeah,
nobody else stealing
yeah,
anything else.
yeah.
So, how has this situation affected you as a writer?
Yeah, as a writer, it's one of those things where now I have to like be more secretive.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it affected me, and that's something that I never liked doing. I love me. I love sharing information. I
Mm-hmm.
love showing people how to do other things. So like when somebody asks me like, "Hey, how do you publish a book? How do you write this?" or that, I was so open, and I'm still open to that. But when it comes to sharing information of what my concepts are, that's
Yeah.
that's no longer happening anymore. Because
Mm-hmm.
before, when I would hear people on YouTube talk about it, like other writers be like, when they'll say, "Hey, you got to beware to get because your work might get stolen and stuff like that." I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking nobody's thinking about me. I'm just I'm like, I'm not some huge name. I'm not anybody. I'm just a regular citizen in America who's writing a
Mm-hmm.
story. Nobody knows me, so that's how
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking. And I wouldn't think in, in my lifetime that somebody or a mainstream company would steal my work, and
Of course
that's
they would, because you're small, so you can't do anything about it. They know that you
ex-
don't have the money to do anything about it.
exactly, and that's how I'm changed now because now I know exactly what you just said. Now I know that
Mm-hmm.
part. That part
Mm-hmm.
is now instilled in me, and now it's
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, it's taught me how to move now. So I am
Right.
glad that I released the independent stories I released, because what happened is I was able to build a resume
Mm-hmm.
showing that I'm an author that can continue to write
Absolutely.
serial novels or
Mm-hmm.
consistent books.
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to
Mm-hmm.
do that. So that shows a company that wants to negotiate something with me, like, oh, okay, we have something here. He's always going
Mm-hmm.
to want to create. And so
Right.
that built up my resume, and now it's showing me that I am ready to move on to the next level. So that's what it changed me when it came to that regard.
Mm. So now, some people might have, after seeing something like this, just called it quits, said, I'm not going to do this anymore, but you continue to write. Why do you feel it's important to keep writing, to keep sharing your gift with the world?
Oh, because for me, it's literally like an addiction. So like I have to keep it going. And I think for me, like I'm a big fan of. I don't know if you know who Dick Gregory is.
Oh,
Is it a
come on
comedian?
now.
Okay, oh, gotcha. I'm a
I'm
big.
52 years old. Dick Gregory is a part of my childhood coming up.
I know that's right. So I'm a huge fan of Dick Gregory, and
Hmm.
one thing Dick Gregory always talk about, was the universal God, and I think the universal God has blessed all of us with major gifts, and I
Hmm.
think we pretty much discover that in school. So like
Right.
a lot of times, if you see interviews or like little biographies of me, it's like I discovered that I was great at writing at like 8 or 9 years old, as far as like my teacher saying, "Oh, you're a great writer." And
Hmm.
then in college, my professor was like, "You need to publish books." So it was always instilled in me like, "You're good at this." Just like
Hmm.
how when you're in elementary school, you might have some kids really great at math,
Right.
and those kids may grow up to become engineers and design rocket ships to fly out somewhere. Somebody may
Hmm.
be really good at science, and that
Hmm.
person may grow up to be a heart surgeon or a neurosurgeon. But that's what they love because they're good with the human body and know how to make our human bodies better. For me,
Hmm.
I wasn't great at math. I wasn't great at science, but I was really good
Hmm.
in English, and I was really good in
Me
social
too.
studies. There we go. There we go. English and social studies. So
Hmm.
with that came being a great writer and me loving to read. I love reading books,
Hmm.
and I was like, okay, God was like, this is you. You're a writer. You're here in this world to create stories. So no
Hmm.
matter what you do, you can go ahead and try to do criminal justice. You can go ahead and try to do this and that. Your spirit is always going to align you with being a writer, and you can't do anything about it because that's who you are.
Hmm.
So
God's like, I'll wait. Go ahead.
yep,
He's sitting
yep,
there like, I'll
yep.
wait.
So I couldn't run away from who I am. So
Hmm.
Disney could steal a billion stories from me. I'm always just gonna be stuck in that lane because I love being in that lane because that's who I
Hmm.
am.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, what is one valuable lesson that you learned? And I know you learned a lot, but what is one that you learned from this situation that you'd like to share with aspiring writers?
Ooh, one valuable one. That's a gem. Okay. Oh, Paul Mooney said this. He's like, he said, for us young aspiring writers, like, gotta know this. You cannot trust everybody in Hollywood. You cannot.
You can't trust anybody in Hollywood.
Anybody, yeah, you cannot. Paul Mooney said you cannot trust them. Like, it's just unfortunate. Like, and the thing is, as entertainers and creators and lovers of the field of art that bring joy to people, whether you're a comedian, an actor, a singer, rapper, a writer, we love bringing joy to people. And unfortunately, people that work in the industry love taking away that joy so much. And that's the sad part. And it's like, you know, and we got to find a way to just combat that, because no matter what, we're going to still create. But we have to, it's for years and years, we're just going to have to keep finding a way for people to not steal our joy, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So where can readers find your books, Lenny?
Yeah, so readers can find all my books on Amazon.com, and most importantly, Lenny'sImagination.com.
Okay.
And with that, with my website, it's pretty much my world. It's like for some people say it's like going to another place, because it's just like fun. They enjoy seeing the imagery in it and things like that. And Lenny'sImagination.com is definitely a website you can go to and read my poems and stuff. So that's, you guys got to check that out.
And so if a person, because I got your ebook off of Amazon, but if I want a signed copy, I can get it from Lenny's Imagination.
Yep. All you gotta do is it has my email on there, or you can go to my Instagram at Lenny's_imagination, DM me, and I'll send you a long personal message and everything, and then I'll ship it out to you. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. And then you just sort of answer my next question. You can repeat it. Where can we find you? We know about Lenny'sImagination.com. Where can we find you on social media?
Lenny's_imagination. And then you also can find me on Twitter. And it's a weird name, because somebody took Lenny's Imagination. Maybe I did it a long time ago and just forgot the password. But like, but it's Lenny's Imagine Nat. So instead of an imagination going all the way throughout, it says Nat. So NAT, and then it ends with a number 1. So it's Lenny's Imagine Nat 1, the number 1. But but if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see it. And then on Facebook, I'm Lenny Williams, and you can just send me a friend request. I'm very open. I talk to people all the time. Now I'm just not gonna be sharing future works. That's all. Right, absolutely.
Well, Lenny, thank you so much for coming here today, sharing your time, your talents, telling us about this story. I'm so happy I was able to have you here today on the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Audrey. You're the best.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And Booze and Bros, you do know what time it is. At the end of every show, I leave you with a quote. And today, it comes from actress Amanda Stenberg, who was included in Times Magazine's list of most influential teens in 2015 and 2016. And she simply says, "What would America be like if we loved Black people as much as we love Black culture?" Until next time, y'all, you know what to do. Grab a book and read. And I'm out. You've been listening to Between the Reads. I'm your host, Audra Russell. Thanks for lending me your ear. If you enjoy this content, please consider supporting this independent podcast by becoming a Patreon at patreon.com/betweenthereads, or making a one-time donation at www.ko-fi.com/betweenthereadspodcast. That's www.ko-fi.com/betweenthereadspodcast. Tune in next week for another great episode.